I replaced the shocks in my truck. Did it work? I'll show you with scientific test results done with 3D. Hoorah! I'm Mike, the backyard mechanic, and I need to fix the back end of my truck. My truck is a 2013 Tacoma base model, but what I'm going over will work on any vehicle that has a solid axle with leaf springs and a standalone unit or smooth body shock absorber. It's not a coilover where the coil spring is wrapped directly around the shock absorber. It's not a coil spring multi-link, which has thick coil springs sitting on the axle with 4 or 5 steel arms or links to keep the axle from moving side to side. It actually is air suspension. For some damn reason, the truck has air shocks, which is bizarre because the main reason to do this would be for towing. But there's no tow bar. What's more, the airlines are a complete mess. I don't know exactly how this had worked because so much is missing. I'm guessing they may have had an air compressor where the spare tire is supposed to be, because I don't see an air inlet where you would fill up the shocks like you would your tires. And I don't see a spare tire. The Tacoma is essentially running without shocks. Besides being big and bouncy, and meaty beady, and riding like a 1975 Ford LTD, it's downright dangerous. On a mildly bumpy road, the back end just about loses contact with the ground and wants to slide side to side. Could it cause an accident? Yes! I ran this poor guy off the road. I think he lost a wheel. So how bad is it? Some very scientific tests were run to collect the data. First test, I jumped on the bumper. The bounce coefficient was 3.705. Okay, I didn't exactly make that up. It bounced about 3 times. Jumping on the bumper is a legit way to check your shocks, but we could get better readings. Next would be driving the truck down a rough road. To perform this test, I put the truck into 3D mode.
What?
Okay, everybody that was here with their red and blue glasses and thought they were going to see something jump out of the screen and scare them, go ahead and leave a comment telling me how my jokes aren't funny. The rough road test went about as well as you can imagine. I call this the butt test because my butt felt pretty roughed up. For better testing, I needed to drive fast and stop aggressively, so I went to the nearest school. Just kidding, it was a Sunday. There was a speed bump which looked to give me pretty good readings. Then I did what I called a speed test, then a reverse speed test. I also recorded me parking in my driveway. You can see I actually got some air there. That wasn't a test, that's just how I pull up to my house. Now I need to buy some new shocks, put them on, run the test again, and show a comparison. To replace the back shocks on the Tacoma, I bought these Pity brand shocks from Amazon, only 33 bucks. You can't pass up such a sweet deal. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mike, how can you afford to buy shocks? Simple, really. I just skipped date night with Mrs. Backyard Mechanic. That's right, these shocks are cheaper than dinner at McDonald's. But you're also thinking, Mike, you really bought these crappy shocks? Sure! The process was remove the old shocks, put these shocks on, then take these shocks off, and throw them in the garbage where they belong. No, I didn't buy these shocks! So what are the best brands? Unfortunately, I have a base level Tacoma. This is the red-headed stepchild of Toyota. 2014 was the last year of the red-headed 2014 was the last year of the red-headed Tacomas before they were phased out for the access cab. All that is to say, it's hard to find parts for this stupid thing. For example, Amazon says this wheel bearing hub fits my vehicle. Really? My vehicle has 5 lugs. What do I do with the extra lug? I guess I could donate it. These are the best brands of shocks that fit my truck, but really with shocks, it's very much a you get what you pay for thing. I went with Bilstein because they're the gold standard. They were $80 each, so Mrs. Backyard Mechanic's gonna have to wait a few weeks before we can go to McDonald's again.
I'm hungry.
You're gonna have to wait! Using the box the Bilsteins came in as a tool of prestidigitation, I raised the front of the truck. To hold up the back of the truck, however, standard jack stands won't do the job. I know, I've tried. Before raising the back of the truck, I jumped on the computer and ordered 6-ton jack stands from Amazon. Because I was in the middle of the job, I requested 2-minute delivery. They were left in the garage for me, and I took them out using my box opener. Patent pending. Careful of hot plastic. Not responsible for misuse, abuse, or even if you use it correctly. I tucked them into the nook of the frame slope and leaf spring bracket and finished lowering the truck. Expectorant phlegmonum! Here's the passenger side shock. Do you think these need to be replaced? Don't be shy. Leave a comment. That red hose hides the nylon air tube. That goes nowhere. In spite of the fact that this thing apparently spent half of its life in a desert and the other half in a sandy lake, it is still a southern vehicle, so the rust is minimal. But I still had to use the double wrench trick to break the top nut free. Unfortunately, a socket doesn't fit up there. That would have been nice. The nut was broken free, but still giving me a hard time, so I shot it and the other 3 fasteners with PB Blaster and opened the garage door so the smell wouldn't linger for the next week. Like you. No, you don't smell. But you are a little stinker. The top of the shock shaft has a flat spot to keep the shaft from spinning while loosening the nut. Vice grip spun up against the truck body held it in place while I used the ratcheting wrench. Because it was still so difficult, the leather glove helped protect my tender paws. When the nut was high enough, I transferred the vice grips to below the shock bracket and was able to get a standard socket in there to finally get this damn nut off. The driver's nut? Well, that one came right off. I guess the sandy lake only affected the right side of the truck. I got the bottom nut off with my impact wrench, and then it proceeded to spew all over the floor. That's what she said. The old shocks, or at least the aftermarket shocks that were on here, had 2 washers and 2 bushings on the top. The Bilsteins came with 3 washers. The stack goes large washer cup faced up, bushing, then a small washer cup face down with the ridge designed to fit in the bracket hole, then a bushing on top of the bracket, then the other large washer cup face down. The Bilstein comes with a nylon lock nut. The torque spec is 15 pounds, but the real goal is to tighten up the nut enough that the bushing flattens out to the same size as the washer. Over-tightening is bad. It appears because the shock shaft is only partially threaded that you can tighten it down to the bottom of the threads, but that is too much. This risks stretching the threads and over-flattening the bushing. If the bushings are over-flattened, it will shorten their life. The next step is to insert the bottom mounting eye into the frame bracket. This is where things come to a screeching halt. The steel bushing doesn't fit. The air shocks that were on here did not have a steel sleeve in the mounting eye, just rubber bushings. So when it was tightened down, the bracket was crushed. A pair of pliers isn't going to fix this problem. I developed an expansion jack using a long bolt and 2 nuts. It isn't the easiest thing to set up. The bolt needs to go through one hole, then a washer, then a nut threaded on, far enough to get the other nut on, but not so far as the bolt won't pivot and slide into the other mounting hole. Plus, if you want to do this the easy way, put your ratcheting wrench on there before the second nut. With the jack in place, hold one nut steady with an open-end wrench and crank on the ratcheting wrench. In my case, I continued this until there was significant resistance built up, aka the bracket didn't want to spread any further. But it was still a tight fit, said the actress to the bishop. Look it up. The shock was extended just a bit much to go into the bracket, so I used a pry bar to pop the eyelet into place and a hammer to get the bolt in. One side done. If you don't have an impact, the nut and bolt can be loosened with a wrench and a large hammer. I cracked it free, but I lost patience and grabbed the impact. The expansion pack was needed on this side as well, but I couldn't find it. Where the heck did it go? I left it right here on my desk. The expansion jack was eventually found and the process went more smoothly on the passenger side. The first try, the shock fit fine. Now the top of the shock can be mounted. The nut was started and tightened up until the shaft started spinning. This time I used my adjustable wrench to hold the shaft and a box wrench instead of my ratcheting wrench, because I lost the ratcheting wrench. I missed recording me putting on the bottom bolt and nut, but I think you get it. Here's the shock assembled and in place. A little side job was new clips to hold the wheel well skirt in place on the driver's side, which were missing. The wheels are put back on with the lug nuts lightly torqued. The car was lowered with my new favorite prestidigitation tool, Expecto Torquenutum. Speaking of which, this would have been a good time to torque the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds, but I forgot, which I've done several times now. Yes, I've driven my vehicles on the highway with untorqued nuts. The trick to not forgetting this is to put your torque wrench on the driver's seat. That way you won't forget, or else you'll be uncomfortable driving around with a torque wrench in your butt.
Oh my God.
So did I like the result? I mean, the shocks, not the torque wrench in my butt. Speaking of liking it, have you seen some of McDonald's new signs? Remember the old days when they posted how many were served on their signs? Now they don't even have their name on the sign. There's one of these by my house. Before they bragged about how many hamburgers they sold, now they brag that they don't even need their name on the sign. I think I could get away with that. Change my name from Mike the Backyard Mechanic to nothing. Hola! I'm nothing. You're liking it. This video. Like it. All of the tests were reran and recorded. They were combined for comparison and shown in slow motion. The bumper test does show a difference, but it's no surprise it was the weakest test since I'm substituting the weight of a 4,000-pound vehicle for my 165-pound body. Okay, 170. Don't body shame me. The butt test is pretty effective. Although I don't have actual data from this, the bottom test really roughed up my tender bottom, while the top test felt like my butt was being caressed with a baby wipe. The speed bump test is a bit inexact because I didn't stop the exact same way, but there's definitive data, about 3.5 to 2. The 25 miles per hour stop speed test was very clear. New shocks, only 1 bounce, which was really just the recovery. The bad shocks, however, 6 bounces. Yikes! It's like I painted the truck in flubber. The final test is the reverse 10 miles per hour stop test. This is also a 1 to 6 bounce ratio, but I thought it was the standout test because I was only going 10 miles per hour. One thing I didn't fix? My rear end. When loaded up, my rear end sags noticeably.
I think your rear end is just fine, honey.
I'm talking about my truck! The truck bed had 20 bags of stone in it to use for my shed. It pretty much dropped the back of the truck down to its bump stops. Shocks don't fix this. This is a spring problem. I've already checked, and again, because this is the redheaded stepchild of a truck, I have very few options, and they're all expensive. At least more than I want to spend. For now, I'll just put up with my drooping rear end.
I think your rear end is perky.
No, not... Ugh. Oh, I've got a fan online. Hey, fan, can you rescue me from this topic?
Was this video about shocks or your butt? I couldn't tell. What did I just watch?
Thanks a lot, fan. Stay tuned to Mike the Backyard Mechanic. In the future, I'll do more work on the Tacoma evap system, and I'll need to pull the entire dashboard out of the Mustang. In the meantime, entertain yourself with how gas prices work. Mitt, why were you so quiet today?
Michael, I think your butt is perky.
I had to ask.
This video was terrible. I feel like I got shock-a-conned. The slow motion tests were very effective. You know what would be even better? Fast motion. Like your whole video at 100x speed, just to get it over with. By the end of the video, the shocks weren't the only thing that were worn out. So was I.